Being good at Death Must Die mostly comes down to two things: being good at movement and making the right choices. In this guide, I'm going to give you the information needed to make good choices. When it comes to characters, there's technically no bad or wrong choice. Each of the characters have their strengths, but if you're a beginner that's just starting out, you might find that you'll have an easier time playing as Maris than any of the other characters. Basically, picking one character early on to gear up and take you through the game will give you a good starting point for all the other characters. You'll have some gear ready for them to give you a good head start instead of starting from scratch with each one. I like Maris as a starter as she has a strong ranged attack that lets you stay out of harm's way while mowing down enemies thanks to the fireball's large blast radius. Her first perk that gives you a good boost to spell damage is also both strong and easy to unlock. Simply deal 100,000 damage in a game while playing as Maris. If you don't know about perks already, then I can tell you that each character has 5 perks that can be unlocked by completing achievements. Head up to the Scriveners at the top of the hub to take a look at the requirements for each of these achievements. The first perk of each character is usually unlocked somewhat passively and is a pretty strong stat increase to spell damage or a similar stat. The other perks cater more towards targeted builds. Unlocking these is a must if you want to defeat the Baron in a nice and controlled manner, and especially if you want to create some crazy strong builds. Like this summoner build that defeated the Baron on difficulty 20 and 30 that I didn't record in a matter of 11 to 15 seconds. Stats are the next important thing to understand. There's a lot of them and some will do you more good than others. Stats are mainly altered through gear in a permanent way that you have somewhat control over. You don't have any control over the gear you get, but you have control over the gear you equip. You can also temporarily alter your stats by interacting with objects around the map, but here you have no control over what you get. Gear is dropped by enemies and bosses, found in crates and graves around the map or bought from the shopkeeper. Do take note that the gear you find is shared and can be used across characters, but once a gear piece has been equipped, it becomes permanently locked and bound to that character. Keep that in mind before equipping your gear. Every stat is useful in some way, but if you want some safe winners, then go with increases to attack and spell damage early on, alongside luck and alterations to the chances of getting different god blessings. Without damage, you'll have a hard time surviving into the late stages of your runs, so this needs to be a starting point. Luck increases the chances of chance-based blessings to be activated like Chain Lightning or Soul Stealers, which will result in more casts. More casts mean more damage. Lastly, getting stronger god blessings means quite a large increase in power. A master blessing is oftentimes more than twice as strong as a novice blessing. Let me quickly go over how these stats work. By default, there's an 85% chance to get novice blessings, 10% to get adept, 3.3% to get expert, and 1.7% to get master. Legend offers have a 25.5% chance to spawn instead of any master offer. When you increase any of these, you take from the novice pool, meaning if you get your chance to get adept offers to 50%, there's only a 45% chance left to get novice offers. With the power increase you get from having higher tier blessings, it's definitely important to increase these stats. Lastly, the passive experience per second stat is also quite strong. Over the course of a long run, this will net you a few levels on its own, which means you will be able to choose more blessings. More blessings, again, means more power. Now your job is to find a balance between all of these that cater well to your playstyle. As I mentioned though, you can't really go wrong with any stats, but the ones I mentioned are some sure winners to get you some consistently good runs. Let's take a look at gods. There are 8 of them. One of them, Moirae, appears in all runs and offers passive stat increases. Of the remaining 7, you can only use 3 per run. Once you pick an offer from a god, that god becomes locked in, and once you have 3 gods locked in, you won't see any new gods appear for the rest of your run. This usually means you'll be locked to the first 3 gods that appear on any given run unless you have a number of alteration dice. Alteration dice lets you re-roll which god appears in front of you as long as you haven't already locked in your 3 gods. This can be quite crucial depending on how you've equipped your gear. If you've gone hard into summoning damage and you don't get Mort, then all that gear was pretty much a waste. Alteration dice have a strong chance to roll on relics and a small chance to roll on other jewelry slots, so keep a lookout for those. They're definitely the most important dice to have on you in your runs if you want to maximize your builds. I'd recommend paying attention to what kind of blessings the different gods have and try to remember this as good as you can in between runs so that you can make the best choices to complement your gear. Here's a quick but not complete overview of what the different gods can offer and which stats complement their main blessings. Summer's blessings are mostly strengthened by spell damage gear. I find her to be a rather weak god and will often skip her entirely, although Combust can end up being a really strong skill, but it's dependent on you making enemies burn, which is somewhat chance based and not the kind of chance that benefits from luck. Chrom's blessings though benefit nicely from luck, increased projectiles and spell damage. Chains of War has a chance-based activation and scales well with luck, while Shurikens and Blades scales well with projectiles. All of them scale with spell damage. Chrom is a solid god for dealing with lots of enemies, but not the best choice when it comes to single target damage against bosses. Mort is the summoning queen. She has 3 blessings that benefit from increased summoning damage with Soul Stealers, Necromancy and Ravens of Pestilence. Soul Stealers is also a really strong ability that benefits very much from luck. You can create a really strong summoning build with Mort and Maris signed off the Summoner perk. The first time I beat the Baron both on difficulty 0 and 30 was using this build. Winter's blessings generally benefit from all of the offensive spell stats except for summoning damage. Spell area probably complements her extra well, seeing as she leaves patches of ice on the ground. Bigger patches will hit more enemies. Time is a safe choice for pretty much all builds due to his diverse blessings. The Summoner blessing permanently increases the damage of your summon, which makes him a safe combo alongside Mort. Gem High is also one of the strongest blessings in the entire game if you get yourself a big pull range, which you'll also get from the Force blessing that Time also provides. His Alteration Ritual is also really strong as it lets you benefit from random blessings for a time after you level up. Most of the time you level up often enough to always have at least one extra blessing going. Lai Gong has the smallest pool of blessings. Chain Lightning is a popular blessing that benefits well from luck, and Lightning Bolt pairs well with movement speed. His Brevity blessing, which makes spells and cooldowns faster, is also a really good choice for basically any build. Spell damage also increases the damage of pretty much everything he offers. Lady Justice is a strong choice if you need more survivability for your builds with blessings that increase your life regeneration per second and armor. I'm a big fan of the Divine Shield blessing to negate damage, and I can safely say that it has saved my runs on more than one occasion. I mentioned early in the video that movement was another key point to being good at the game. There's 2 reasons for that. First, it helps you to stay away from danger. I'm not gonna explain why that is important. Second, it lets you find more objects around the map. These objects sometimes hold gear, gold and even really strong stat bonuses. The map seems to be pretty much infinite in size, so you want to be moving around all the time and collect as many of these as you can. Because of this, you might want to invest into some pull range to make sure you don't miss out on more experience orbs than you need to. If you stick too much to a small area, your stat screen will look like this. If you move around a lot, your stat screen will instead look like this. It should be obvious which one is better. As a last tip, I recommend picking up all the gear you find, no matter the rarity, so that you can sell it. You'll need as much gold as you can get to maximize your gear gains. I found some game-changing gear pieces from the shopkeeper, and while we're talking about the shopkeeper, don't forget to use the reserved items row to save items between runs if you can't afford them now. The store cycles through its item between each run, so if you don't buy it now or reserve it, you're gonna lose it. Hopefully this guide helps you understand the game a bit better. It barely touches on the surface of the game though, so hit the subscribe button if you want to delve deeper with me in future guides.